turn this on. Hi everyone, welcome to the DM workshop. This is actually we wanted to do this a very long time ago, but somehow we just did it now, which is good. So thanks for coming. And nobody sitting in the first row. You can sit in the first row. It's okay. Shorter, yeah. People will not makan you. There's no auto backstab hit. There isn't? Shit. Wrong game. Today we'll be sharing, the three of us will be sharing. My name is Mick. And this is Shauhan, and that's Dave. And we'll be sharing with you different aspects of being a DM, especially if you're a beginner or you're intermediate and you're trying to pick up some tips of how to improve your game. Maybe not improve your game, improve your player's game. Okay? And I guess that's it. So, you don't have to, it's not a panel. Okay, so I'll be going through, for my part, I'll be going through basically starting out as a DM. So I haven't been a DM for very long. I think maybe 3 years. That's it. Yeah, since 2015, I think. Yeah, so I haven't been a DM for very long, but I've been playing the game. So only when 5E came along, I was confident enough to pick up that role. Dave will be running through with you how to make your players work for you and not work against you. And Shauhan will be sharing, what are you sharing? No stress, yeah. No stress table. Having a lot of fun and making sure that you still keep control of your table. Okay. So initially this was supposed to be done by Jonathan, but now it's done by me. So, but this is not his slides, but it looks like his slides. Okay, so let's begin. So you want to be a DM? So you want to be a dungeon master. So what I'm going to run through with you is the actual role of a dungeon master. Oh yeah, before we begin, each of the sessions will be about 45 minutes. We'll give like a... No. Yeah, okay, I don't need to do this thing. Yeah. At the end of the session, we'll open up for Q&A and just discussion. So it's just seminar style. We'll just share back and forth about our experiences here and there. Okay, so the stuff I'm going to go through in my slides, the role of the DM, what do you mean by being a dungeon master? What does it mean to be a dungeon master? What you need in terms of logistics, and then what the skills are required or the skills that you will acquire. Okay, then how to be, well, I won't say I'm a great DM, but how to improve your DM skills to the next level, and then some resources that you can take on. So, what is the role of the DM? Usually, it's a 20, but then you wouldn't know because I roll in secret. So the actual role of DM, okay, and this is from David Ewalds of Dice and Men. In any game of Dungeons and Dragons, the Dungeon Master serves as author, director, referee. A good DM must be creative, design a world from scratch, and spin it into a narrative. But you also must possess, an ordered, logical, set of thinking, and you're capable of recalling and understanding hundreds of pages of rules. Actually, yeah, it's still hundreds of pages of rules. Yeah. Of course, I got this from, I didn't read of Dice and Men. I read some parts of it, but I didn't read all of it. I just read Wikipedia. Yeah, the DMG refers to you as architect and referee. You write the story, you're writing the campaign. Your storytelling, you're giving the world that you built life. You're improvising on the fly, and sometimes you're acting. Actually, most times you're acting. Well, it depends on your DM style. If you're there, just deadpan, and just read off the script, which is mine. But most importantly, you're in charge of the game. Okay, the D&D rules help you to run the game. It gives you a structure in which your characters, your players' characters can exist in a world, and gives them an idea of like what they can do. Of course, it doesn't restrict them. But at the end of the day, the rules aren't in charge, you are in charge. So, what does every DM need? So logistically, right? Yeah. We're going to do this actually. So I'm not listening. So what does every DM need? You need pencil and paper. And what I usually do is to have cut up pieces of paper about ye big, so that you can pass around notes. Okay, so you pass around notes. You can create a lot of things with just a small piece of paper. Not so big, not so big. The graph paper. Yeah. Also, you need a set of dice, at least a set of dice for yourself. And if there are new players to the table, what you want is to have maybe more sets of dice so that you can lend out to people. But you need one for yourself at least. Some access to the player's handbook, a minimum. I suggest you either buy it or have a digital copy. Of course, buy lah. I'm here to support the store, so just buy. You need some adventure material, and I'll tell you where. There's a lot of places you can get adventure material. And as a new DM, maybe you don't have to, create your own adventure. Starting out would be good to, follow somebody's advice or follow somebody's adventure. Something that is a bit more structured for yourself. And once you get a bit more accustomed to how, not just how an adventure runs, but how your players are. Okay, more importantly, you need to know your players. Then you can start to structure a campaign that is suited for them, that's best for their style as well as your style. You want a DM screen. And if you can't buy a DM screen, so the official DM screen looks something like this. Very nice, very, I always, so it's very nice on the front, but the actual thing that you want is on the inside, which has like lots of notes of, travel, the skills that are required, what else is there? Cover, obscure area, exhaustion levels, a lot of little things. And I use a DM screen. I always use a DM screen because I roll in secret. And I'll tell you why later, but I like to roll in secret. Okay, there are a lot of DMs who also like to roll just openly, so that players can see. It's a bit more transparent lah. But if you can't afford one, or if you find that the tips on the inside or like all the rules on the inside are not useful for your campaign. For example, Into the Abyss, where it's not overground. We're all underground. So traveling overground and underground is very different. Overground, you travel at how much? 16 feet a day? 16 miles a day? Yeah. 30 miles a day, yeah. So yeah, if you travel fast, you travel 30 miles a day. Underground, you travel 2 miles a day when you're going, 4 miles a day if you're going fast. So there's a very big gap. So if you don't have one, what you can do is to make one. This is my Into the Abyss. This is Demogorgon. And this is the party member. So I was DMing a table with Shao, and then one day I forgot to bring my DM screen. I decided to go back, get some cardboard, and just make a DM screen. It's easy to do. And of course inside I got nothing. But then you can fill the inside with things that you find useful for you. Quick reference tips. You can put goblin stats inside and just keep throwing goblins at your players. And you can even make it modular. So on the inside, that's why I said paper is important. So you can write it on the piece of paper, put blue tag, and just paste it on the inside for a while, or post-it notes. So when you're done with it, you just remove it and throw it away, and then prepare for your next encounter. Okay? So I find it useful. I'm not quite sure about this thing. And some additional things that you might want to facilitate the game, but ultimately not necessary. One of them, probably like play mats or a mat. So the play mats have like hex grid on them, so you can move figurines around, which is another thing that maybe helps your game, but it's not necessary because sometimes you can just play theater of the mind. Spell cards are nice to have. Ultimately not necessary because you have your handphone. There's an app. Okay, so for those of you who run on Android, right, there's this awesome app called 5th edition. Is it? Yeah, 5th edition spellbook, which is amazing because you put in your characters and you put in the spellbooks and it does stuff for you. Other stuff that you might need, but not necessarily useful. A backbone, a spine, confidence, and maybe the ability to tell players no. Actually, no, you need the ability to tell players. So one more thing that you need as a DM. Guts. Yeah. So yeah, when you're the DM, you need guts. You really need to be able to tell your players, no, you can't do that. You have to be confident in your decision. Some confidence is useful, but reason it out. When somebody wants to do some extravagant action during combat, usually my answer is, remember each turn takes you 6 seconds. So maybe you can do half of it now, then half of it later, and then make them roll. But then also have the ability to say no. It's very important because if you think it's a bit too much for them to do or they're trying to take advantage of the situation, no lah. Yeah, you can you can throw like hordes of characters at your players. Okay, so what skills do you need? First off, you need to be literate. Actually, maybe no need to be literate lah. You can get somebody like Shao to tell you the rules from start to finish. At least you must understand a language. You need to understand the rules. And you don't have to remember rules for what they are, but you need to understand them. You need to at least be able to recall, okay, I remember there's this thing about getting advantage. I remember this thing about hiding stealth, Or I remember that there's this thing that the monk does that he can spend key points to do. But you have to, remember most of that. There's always the player's handbook. There's always the Dungeon Master's Guide to refer to. And there's always this thing called Google. Then you need to improv. Okay, and if you can't improv now, it's okay. Eventually you improv because you improve. You improve your improv. You don't have to be a comedian, but at the end of the day, things will not happen the way you want it to, and that's why you need improvisation. You need to you need to think quickly. When you tell your players, "Hey, there's a rope that goes down into the hole," and then they decide to jump, and it's like, bad decision. Yeah, bad decision. You keep falling for about a minute and then die. That's when you die. That's when you need the character death sheet. So yeah, improvisation is a big part of the game. Everything that you want, you need to be able to flow with the punches and roll like a river or something. Okay, you also need to be logical. Going with the idea of saying no. If your players decide to, okay, I'm going to jump off this 3-story building, crash through a window, and then do some form of acrobatics, and then roll and think that they will be safe, you have to tell them, I'm sorry, dude, you died. Because you need you yourself need some logical thinking. You need to be able to assess how are players going to get from A to B. And that's probably another discussion, like good encounter, how you make good encounters, which is very in line with game, how to make good game design, which actually Wilson might be able to share. You lead players from A to B to C. So you have to think logically like that. And then allow your players to try to solve that problem. And they may solve it on their own, but it must be logical. You cannot be playing, what's that point and click adventure that's very difficult? I don't know. Yeah, there's a lot. All those 90s point and click, LucasArts point and click adventures, they are not logical at all. Yeah, very hard. Yeah, you put a mouse in the vacuum cleaner so that you can unlock the door. Okay. Pixar, all the same. And last but not least, you must be willing to make mistakes. You're not infallible. You're a DM. When you're new, right, you might not want to, you might want to prepare everything and make sure everything goes to plan. And then when your players are not doing what you think they should be doing, you start railroading them. There's this term called railroad, which is basically force them onto a certain path. No, let it be natural. Let it happen. Say yes, and then see where it goes. And if you make a mistake, it's okay. Back up a little bit. I know it's not nice to this thing, but back up a little bit. You made a mistake. It's okay. Own it, and then improve. What was this? Oh yeah, and one last skill that you need. You need to be able to lie, and lie very hard. Which is why you need a DM screen. So I like to make things challenging for my players. When it seems like they might be invincible in battle, I crit them and they almost die. When they are weak and they do stupid things, they will almost die, but not die. Actually, they die. So you have to lie a bit. You have to make sure, like I said, roll with the punches and flow like a river. Or the other way around. Okay, so here are some suggestions for opening campaigns or material that you might want to use for beginning. Okay, one of them is the D&D starter set. This is actually Adventurous League material, Lost Mines of Phandelver, which is a great way to start a campaign. You don't have to buy the set, just get the campaign and make sure you know what you're doing. Of course, need PHB in hand. All you need is the player's handbook. I don't even think you need a monster's manual, right? I don't think so, yeah. Still need? They have the stats, what? Oh yeah, okay, Google. The other one is Defiance in Flan. Defiance in Flan is fantastic. The first campaign itself, okay, so who's here played or DM Defiance in Flan before? Okay, only a few. Then I won't spoil the story, because it's really damn good. Like, you start off, there's the way it's structured when you read it. So it's Adventurous League material. The way you read it, it will tell you if-else statements. If this happened, else you do this. And then it leads you on if your players did something earlier on. And so it starts to refer to itself late into the adventure. And that's what a good adventure is like, because it's mapping out exactly what the players might have done. And if the players didn't do it, then good. And when you do it again, players might do something else than they did before. So you are able to, it maps out for you what you want to do. If you're not very creative or very good at improv. Storm King's Thunder is a very good campaign. I think they've taken, WotC has taken all the mistakes, and with the reprint or the republishing of the player's handbook, they've done away with a lot of the things that were really bad with the first two campaigns, and produce something which I think is fantastic. So Death House is Adventures League one-shot, which is, tends to kill players, which is good. It's good. It forces you to be a nasty DM. Yeah, Curse of Strahd is a nasty place. People will die, and then get risen again, and then die again. So it forces you to be very nasty. It forces you to be a proper referee for the game. And that's why I like it a lot. Minds of Madness is a good one-shot. I have not played this myself, but Google tells me it's very good. And then anything from dmsguild.com that is 4 or 5 star rated, it's probably very good. Minds of Madness had 4.5 stars out of 300 plus reviews. So it's bloody good. Okay. So, how do you transition yourself from a okay DM, a beginner DM, to intermediate, and hopefully to be great? I'm not there yet. I'm not there yet. Okay. First, adopt the right mindset. When you're at the table, honestly, you're not there to please people. You're there to facilitate their game, to facilitate their story. And of course, to tell your story, but to facilitate their story. You're not a, what was the term? You're not an MMO server. People connect to you and then you, it's the thing. You're also not a gambling machine. If they wanted to roll dice, they go to a casino. Know your players. And this is very important. Actually, all of these are very important. You know your players. The more you play with them, so you may not, for the 3 of us and for a few here, we are DMs for Adventurers League in Singapore. So what happens is that every week, almost every week, we see new players. So it's difficult to get to know them. But once they stick, or once once we know a few players and how they play, and their characters, more importantly, when they role play their characters, it's easier for us to understand like why they do a certain thing, and propose certain styles of play for them. And if you're running a campaign at home, so for if you're running one book campaign or some campaigns at home with your friends, get to know your friends, get to know how they role play, and get to know what they like and dislike about you and the game. And speaking of which, get feedback from your players. It's very important. The people who are enjoying the game is not, well, you should be enjoying DMing, but they also should be enjoying with you. So get feedback from your players. That's the best way to know your players better. So after a few AL sessions with people, I will go and talk to DMs. I will go and talk to players. Ask them what can be improved, what is lacking, what is good, what can be improved, and what we should keep. Make mistakes. It's okay. Sometimes, I let the paladin hit 3 times in one combat. It's okay. Just make mistakes. Learn, and then move on. Okay? Then don't do it again. Maybe you gave out 1,000 XP during your first campaign. Not you. I know, got one guy. Yeah, it was like, ooh. It's okay. No, but yeah, there was, in line with knowing the rules, what happened was that very early on in Adventurers League, when we started last year, was I had a DM who did not know you're supposed to divide the XP, the total XP that you get, and then divide it by the number of players. So he just gave it to all the players. So they jumped from level 1 to level 3 immediately. It's like, oh, I jumped this extra level. Whee! The players, of course, very happy lah. I am not very happy. And last but not least, practice. Okay, practice makes perfect. The more you try, the more mistakes you make, which is good, and the more you learn. And you just have to put it into practice. Now, of course, you can put it in practice in a lot of different ways. Last but not least, learn by playing. Because Sure, you might think that you're a good DM until you sit at somebody else's table, like Shao's table. Then you realize, I'm not so good. I don't know how to DM. See, all these players, they look like they're having fun. Actually, you probably look more like this. All old man, botak, all very like, oh, okay, try roll. But actually, you look more like this. Yeah, probably, yeah. Okay. Okay, so some of the resources are where I usually go lah. Okay, different people. This is DM Guild. I forget what's the character's name. Dungeon Master, yeah. He is Dungeon Master. So this is Dungeon Master. So ask around. You find resources everywhere. Wizards of the Coast has a whole stack of things that will help you, especially when you're a beginner, to get started. You don't have to buy everything. They give you certain things already. And go to, Reddit is a great place to ask for advice. People do respond and they're not like giant trolls. Although sometimes threads get quite funny, so to speak. Geek and Sundry also writes a lot of good articles about how to DM, how to be effective DM. Last but not least, ask other DMs. It's good. You can just ask, hey, how do I handle this situation? How do I handle this situation? When I have problematic players, I turn to the rest of my DMs to ask for advice. How do I handle it? And then, and last but not least, Google. How do you think this slide came about? WikiHow got pictures some more, okay? Okay. All right. So thanks for listening. Like I said, I haven't been a DM for a very long time. I played the game a long time, so for me to share this with you is nice. My first time DMing was actually adventurously in Portugal, and so I was given a bit tough. But Portuguese mostly speak English, which is great. But I had to manage my language lah. It had to be a bit simpler. Which did test a little bit of my improv skills. If they didn't understand a certain thing, then I have to go another way. And it was fun. They just gave me a stack of Adventure League notes, and I read through it in the quick 15 minutes. And then while I was playing, I was reading through it because players take a bit of time to sing. And that was great. After that, I came back to Singapore, and then I was looking for Adventurous League in Singapore. It wasn't there, so I blasted out on Facebook, hey, anybody want to play this Into the Abyss, this new, very new, cool campaign? And Shao and a whole bunch of people joined, and it was fun. And that's it. None of you died. You all didn't even get out of the abyss. Yeah, then game ended. There was a glitch. Yeah, there was a glitch, and then the game ended. Okay, so thanks for listening. Yeah. Thanks for listening. Okay, so now we'll open up to saying what? No, I'll talk about it at the end. Okay, so now we'll open up. Any questions you might have? Any like burning hands questions that you might have? How to make a DM screen. Very easy, you can see. Got tape here and got tape here. That's it. Scotch tape is all you need.
Find your cardboard collector.
Yeah. Oh, John had, there's this guy, Jonathan. He had this damn cool DM screen. So it was made of 4, those file sleeves. The ones that keep, what's that? Yeah, the ring folders, you just put paper inside. So he had cardboard put into each one of them, and they all folded up into like a 4 or 5 section. So he just taped them all together with a bit of duct tape, and then was able to slot more stuff inside. So yeah, very nice. I like this thing, but very tall. His DM screen was this tall. Then when you sit down, then you cannot see the DM at all. Yeah, that's a problem, right? Like, yeah. Yeah, so for those of you who are currently DMs, show of hands, who prefers to stand up or you DM? Yeah. Tower over your players. You have to? Why? Get a shorter DM screen. Tower over your players. Show them who's the alpha. Okay, so any questions? Sure.
So I played a grand total of 2 games in AL.
Okay.
One with Dave, another one at Game Source. And I think I'm still a bit skeptical about AL play. So they try to convince me why would it be good to DM for AL
Okay.
or play for AL.
So question is, why is it good to DM for AL? Okay, so, man, should I even go through the history of Adventurers League?
I can't go through it in my slides, so
Okay.
pass it to me, I'll do it.
Can I? Good.
I'll go through a bit, I understand your concerns.
But in your own,
So why? Okay, so for me, because my goal is such that I get more players to play D&D, and to DM for new players, to get them introduced to the game, to get them to have fun in this game that they are not particularly well versed in, or they just they watch TV and then like, oh cool man, this Dungeons and Dragons thing is very cool, hipster, nerdy, geek type thing, geek chic. So I like to facilitate that. I want to bring them in, and once they are familiar with that, then then they will go on to find their own adventures and stuff like that. So personally, for me, it's the satisfaction of seeing players play a game. For me, playing games is very important to not just my life, but the people around me. I have to play games. Otherwise, like, life is very boring. Yeah, so that's why I do AL lah. But to address your concern, like, I guess you have to. You probably find your own purpose if you want to DM for AL or you want to DM for strangers. One of the good things about Adventurers League is that it will always run. Or I won't say always run lah. Today we took up the slot for Sunday slots, but then it will mostly run, which means that you get to practice as a dungeon master, because I understand that it's always difficult to find like a whole bunch of people and get together all the time, and just keep playing, just together lah. So as a player and as a DM, like, you get to exercise it anytime, or at least at that time lah, not just anytime. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Can.
Is it like very hard to sort of like describe battle? Because I was thinking about it, it's like, because in the games there's rules for like distances and all those things. So how do you DM for this kind of thing?
Okay, so for theater, you all don't cover it, right? Yeah. You cover it, yeah. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
So mostly, it depends on how sadistic you are. Just really watching a crappy action movie and a good action movie. So like a good action movie, basically there's a lot of impact, there's a momentum that goes around. So for you, let's say you got a bunch of situations where everyone is just, I attack, and then there's no movement going on. Now what happens is that maybe some guy says, I want to drag him to the corner, I want to shove and throw him off the roof. 4th floor falling damage, I don't know how much, 86, 46, I don't know. But the thing about it is, once that happens, then suddenly there's a trail around everyone, then people start organizing their own distances. Then what happens is that I find like papers that is very useful to draw a rough sketch map. But because I don't tend to use miniatures a lot, so I tend to use a sketch map so everyone knows the relative position. They can just go around. Then afterwards, people start saying, hey, I got to use terrain, I want to drag it. It's supposed to strength DC to pull this thing so I can get a full cover. Then later, suddenly people are like, if I attack the floor, will he fall through and die? Then that's when you know that you have succeeded in your job to bring a good word or chaos to others.
Chaos is good.
So, I mean, that's kind of language. So play 4th edition and you can't do that at 4th edition. 4th edition, you gotta play like tactical battle map. So when you play Theater of the Mind, think strategy rather than tactics.
Yeah.
Because it's big flow. Any moment things may change. People want to do things like, I want to run about opening doors, like someone there. Okay, like, it's like I want to run about locking doors. I want to pickpocket. Some of that thing becomes logical. But if you put it in tactical combat, right? Theater is not fun.
Yeah.
You might as well play battle max. That's more fun that way.
I think you know, describe, like, the minute you go into that combat, describe the battlefield first, and then your players will have a good idea of what's happening. You know, are you in range? Are you not in range? That would give your archers or your range characters some sense of where these other characters are or where the enemy is. Is there cover around, and things that you can interact with, lah. Let them know. Would be nice to have like a small map to draw out. Okay, this is what the battle looks like right now.
So some of the newer game systems, what they do is to say near, close, far, for example. Near, close, moderate, far. So if you play games like Exalted or you play games like other indie games, they tend to have like distance banding. So guys, hi guys, we start at mid-range. Then that's what the guy says. They say it's going to take you 2 move actions to get close. So everyone knows Aga guys was 60 feet, 90 feet, we don't score the vehicle. So then when that happens, right, there's a ballpark there. So you only use our distributors. It's narrow, it's dark, there's an open field, there's a lot of terrain, that kind of thing. Then people get a better idea.
Yeah. Doesn't have to be technical details, lah. And then when they ask you, then like, okay, this is what you can do. Yeah. Yeah, you wanted to ask?
Are there any requirements for getting adventures?
No. You must want to do it, lah. That's it.
So what about the public spaces home? You can do it at home, right?
Now you can do it at home. It used
Now
to
you
be,
can do it.
it to be a public space.
Yeah. Used to, used to.
There's one requirement,
What? The DCI number. Log your, yeah, the only requirement is just log your adventures.
Physical logging.
Yeah, physical logging. There's this log sheet. Okay, for those of you who are not familiar with Adventures League, there's this like log sheet. Give it to your players. There, you can find it on the internet. Give it to your players. Ask them to fill it up. Make sure that they keep it with them, because by right you are able to take your characters out to anywhere. So I have now it's a level 7, level 4, and level 2 cleric that came over with me from Portugal, and I can just use it anytime. They rode the ship with me. Ooh. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, there's really no requirement. Like, yeah. The set of numbers is the same. You are just in this thing, yeah. So log sheet looks like this. This is what a log sheet looks like. Pretty simple piece of paper. It has the character name, the level, the faction, player name, DCI number, the sheet number, and then the adventure and all the stuff inside. Then you just fill up details. That's it. As long as you know what as long as you know what adventure they're running, then yeah. Okay, any other questions? Yeah.
How do you balance different player wants? Like some players want to RP, some players want to get rich.
Okay. Get rich. Okay, so how do you balance? Wow, this is a tough question. Don't play with them. No. Okay, so it's important to know what your style is. And it's important to know what you want from your group. If it's a group of friends, then Lanlan Saktam, you have to accommodate all of them, lah. But how do you balance it is tricky.
I think you can give them what is
Yeah.
So think about like different characters in this story, like the novel, and then one will probably might want to have a kingdom, one will want to get rich, and love and items, and you can't accommodate all of them each time.
Yeah.
But
Over the entire narrative, yeah.
scenarios, maybe you can think of one, make him a main figure central to the adventure at any one time.
Yeah.
But make it kind of right. You don't have to. For one adventure, for one section,
You don't have
try
to
do
this thing.
everything for everyone.
fight scene to make sense. So you may have some social scene that organically appears to make the fight scene make sense. You see? So it kind of organizes itself. So find out what you like, what you're good at, and then your table also recognize that, and then you're okay if you want to get there. So the table works together.
Yeah. So yeah, and it will be good if right at the get-go you establish like what the party wants, like what at the end of the day the party wants to do. Because if you know, if let's say if we play Into the Abyss and then of all the party members, one guy actually likes the Abyss, okay lor, he stay there lor. But then you have to make it enticing for them to follow the rest of the party, you know, yeah, or make it unenticing for them not to follow the rest of the party. Try to use the carrot first, then you see. So for example, if they don't, okay, so for Into the Abyss, right, specifically, it's a survival horror game, which means that people, they're trying to get to the surface. All of them are surface dwellers. If one guy decides, okay, I want to stay here, they will die. Like that, very straightforward. The draw to following the rest of the party, okay, we're going to survive as a pack. We are going to hunt and forage and try to get out of here all together alive. The stick approach is there are people chasing us, I'm going to die. Or I'm going to get sold into slavery, not die. Possibly die. Okay. So any other questions?
For new players, right, do you recommend trying Theatre of the Mind with them?
For new players, oh, I actually won't recommend playing Theatre of the Mind with new players.
Because you're reinforcing the stereotype that you must use the figurine and everything.
That's true.
The problem.
I don't think it's a stereotype. I think it really depends on the DM.
Yeah.
But newer players, here are some either tokens or miniatures on the map. I think are fine.
You don't really need, maybe you don't need the figurines or the map per se, but having, let's say, markers for them to visualize the combat area, I think that would be important.
So new players especially, miniatures help them imagine who they are. So sometimes like a guy doesn't have a concept, hey, I got a melee, there's a war fighter, I'm going to be this guy. Yeah. It serves as a scaffold for them to do the movie transition. So you may have a miniature, but still use Theatre of the Mind and it's still okay. So some props
Yeah.
to make them feel that it's okay to talk as a funny voice. If I have a toy in front of me, it's a bit easier to, hello guys, but then in front of me, it's like, what the hell am I doing, man?
Yeah.
So just play along and ease them into the world.
Helps them RP lah. Okay. Okay, maybe we'll table the discussion. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, cool. You all want to take like a